Welcome. So in this video, we'll be answering this question before us. It says that we need to list a sequence of transformations which takes the graph of this to this. So whenever you're dealing with these transformation type questions, there are two ways of going about it. The first way to go about it is by inspection. Now this is the easier way, but more prone to error. And then the other way that we could do this is the longer way, but less prone to error, which is known as by the method. So let's talk about both of these ways now. So if you were to do this by inspection, what it really requires you to do is look at what you've been given here, -1/7 x minus 2 squared, and hopefully you can just kind of look at this and realize the transformations that are taking place. So because I have 1/7 out the front of what I've been given here, it's going to be a dilation by a factor of 1/7 from the x-axis. So take note of the fact that because it's because it's dilating from the x-axis, you're not taking the reciprocal of anything. You're just realizing, hey, this is 1/7, so this is a dilation by a factor of 1/7 from the x-axis. If it was dilating from the y-axis, you have to take the reciprocal of things. It becomes more challenging, but just like that, nice and easy. Remember, you read things off by going dilations, then reflections, then translations. So the next thing that we would do is we would consider this right here, which is a reflection. And again, because it's on the outside of things, we say it's a reflection in the x-axis. So we get our pen again, and we're going to say followed by a reflection in the x-axis. Let's highlight that. Followed by a reflection in the x-axis. And then finally, what we have to deal with is this right here, which is a translation. So let's grab our pen yet again. And we're going to say followed by a translation of 2 units in the positive x direction. So remember, it's positive because you've got x minus 2, and you need to remember that when it's like that, you've got to take the opposite sign. So that would be our translation. So really important to realize that when you're reading off transformations, you do so in the order of dilations, then reflections, then translations. So a dilation by a factor of 1/7 from the x-axis, followed by a reflection in the x-axis, followed by a translation of 2 units in the positive x direction. So just by reading it off that, you can get those right there. But if you're thinking, you know, I really prefer to do this by the method, that is also a good option. So let's talk about that now. So what you're going to begin by doing is just begin by writing this out. This is just a good way to situate yourself. We're starting from a point and we're arriving at a new point. We know that our original graph is y equals x squared, and then we know our newly transformed graph will be y equals -1/7 x minus 2 squared. The next thing that you do is you keep the left-hand side the same, but over here we're going to rearrange this. So I'm going to, let me get a red out so I can show you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply this side by -7, and I'm going to multiply this side by -7. And by doing that, this negative and this 7 will go away. And I'm getting it to be in the same form as the left-hand side. So now I have -7y is equal to x minus 2 squared. Now, once I've got it so that these are in the same form here, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to get this y and set it equal to this, and I'm going to get this x and set it equal to this. Now, it's also important to realize that there should be dashes here. There should be dashes here. So if you don't have dashes there, it's going to be confusing. This is y dash, this is x dash, and that's because this new point, x dash, y dash, exists on the newly transformed graph. So make sure you put those in. I always forget to put them in, but normally when it comes to this step, I remember. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do now is go y is equal to negative 7y dash, and x is equal to x dash minus 2. Now you're going to solve for x and y. So over here, I would get y over negative 7 is equal to y dash. And then over here, I would get x plus 2 is equal to x dash. Now this is the important thing right here, what we've generated here. So this and this are important. We're now going to read from these our answers. So from this, what you should be able to do is the following. You should be able to say, hey, I am multiplying my y by, now this might, let me write this another way, and it might be helpful to write this another way. Let me write this like this, negative 1 on 7 y, because that's the same thing as, you know, this. But now that it's written like this, it might be a bit easier to read, because now we can clearly see that I'm multiplying my y by 1 on 7, which means that's a dilation by a factor of 1 on 7 from the x-axis. So by reading that off, you're saying, hey, I'm performing a dilation by a factor of 1 on 7 from the x-axis. Because remember, if I'm multiplying my y by 1 on 7, that's affecting my x. Followed by this negative in front of my y is meaning we're having a reflection in the x-axis. So we'd say followed by a reflection in the x-axis. Followed by, now we're going to read off our translation. And our translation is x plus 2. This one's the easiest to read. It just means 2 units in the positive x direction. Followed by a translation in the a translation of 2 units in the positive x direction. Perfect. So that is by the method. So as you can see, what we've done here is we've read off each thing. So 1 over 7 means a dilation by a factor of 1 over 7 from the x-axis, followed by, we've got a negative here, so that's a reflection in the x-axis. And then lastly, we read off our translation, a translation of 2 units in the positive x direction. So always follow that dilation, then reflection, then translation when determining transformations. And that's how we'd approach this question. So of course you don't have to do both ways, but see which way you're most comfortable with and do it that way. Hopefully this made sense in how to approach these types of questions, and I'll see you in the next one.